afternoon, everyone, or good morning, depending on your time zone. And welcome to Replace Management Reporter with Excel-based ActivReporter for Dynamics GP. I am Sarah Brewster, and I will be your host for today. Hopefully you can all see my PowerPoint title slide as well as hear my voice. If you can't see or hear either one of those, let me know in the question box, which brings us to our first little bit of housekeeping. Let me change the slide. So please ask questions. We love questions. In the GoToWebinar interface, there is a place to ask questions, and we are going to make sure and answer as many of those we can at the end of the webinar. And also, we are going to email you a link to access the recording after the webinar is completed. So you can look for that in your inbox. And of course, the disclaimer. Okay, so we are here today to talk about ActivReporter. We're going to do a demo overview of the ActivReporter product, let's talk about what ActivReporter is. So ActivReporter is, first and foremost, it offers financial reporting as well as data analysis for Microsoft Dynamics GP. And similarly to Management Reporter, we do only work with general ledger detail. And of course, we are a budget-friendly option. So before we get started talking about ActivReporter, I just want to make sure that you are all awake today. So I'm going to send out a quick poll. What is the main reporting solution that you use today? I'm going to launch this out here, and I'd love to get your responses, picking which one of the reporting solutions is what you use within your company. And if you don't use one of the ones that's listed, you can pick the other option as well as enter your answer in the Q&A box so that I can see what you use. So this should be, yes, there it is. So we're going to let this go for a minute. We got about 30, 51%. Wow, lots of you guys are voting. Great. So, of course, what I'm seeing so far is about 90% MR, Management Reporter, and FRX, which is about what we expect to see. Lots of people like to use MR and FRX just because they come with the GP program. So, all right, I'm going to give this one more second and see if we can get any more responses. No? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close this, and we can take a look at it. So you should be seeing on your screen now the poll results, which of course shows that we're about 75% using MR or FRX. Few of you are using refreshable reports as well as Jet Basics and Jet reports, and we have some other not listed. Great. So let me bring that closed, and let's go ahead and dive into the first portion of ActivReporter, which is going to be, of course, the Excel-based financial reporting. So before we jump into the software and look at reporting within the software, here's a few key points to know about financial reporting and ActivReporter. So, of course, our most loved feature, our reports are designed in Excel. Editing is a what you see is what you get type experience. It's WYSIWYG. You can see what you're creating as you create it and see what the final version will look like before you generate it. There's no separation between design and reporting. And because we are pure Excel, anything Excel can do, your reports can do. Plus, it doesn't hurt that most people already have Excel experience. So we're usually starting from somewhere that people already have a foothold. So coming from Management Reporter, of course, we do have the ability to import your row definitions from Management Reporter. So if you've already created reports out of Management Reporter that you like to use, we can import those rows into ActivReporter, and you've already got a good start on creating your reports there in ActivReporter. ActivReporter can produce financial for organizations that have complex needs, such as multiple currencies, or if you've got multiple GP company databases, maybe multiple budgets or fiscal years. ActivReporter is able to handle all of these situations. And all Excel reports are going to offer drill down to transaction level detail and drill back to GP if you are a GP user. I didn't mean to go through that. Whoops, there we go. Okay, so that's some key points about financial reporting. Let's jump into the software and see what it looks like. So here we go. You should all be seeing my beautiful ActivReporter wallpaper there. So I'm going to enter into a world of let's pretend right for a second. And in my world of let's pretend, I am a department manager. I have just gotten my email from the accounting department. They've just closed April 2017. Yes, we are in Fabricam, so it's April 2017. And accounting has emailed me the reports for last month, April. I saved the attachment to my desktop here. It's just an Excel file. And I'm able to open it right here and get a look at my numbers for April. So you can see right away, I'm able to get a quick visual by using these charts that are just native Excel. These charts are going to be reactive as numbers change, but they just give a great little visual. For me as a department manager, you know, maybe I'm not so used to looking at this sort of breakdown, but a chart gives me a great foothold into understanding the numbers that I'm looking at over here. We've got the full power of Excel again, so we're able to use images and formatting, all sorts of nice things that your board and all the other C-suite types tend to love. And as an ActivReporter user, I am able to go to my ActivReporter ribbon, and I can connect to my company database. You can see that it says Fabricam right there. That connection is what is going to allow me to perform this drill down. So we drill down directly to the transaction level detail right away. If you prefer to see the sort of summarized steps that Management Reporter would provide for you, we allow those as well in the form of a report. But as far as these financial statements, we're going to drill down directly to the transaction. From here, as a department manager, let's say I don't have access to GP, but now with ActivReporter, I do have access to my detail level here in the report. So what that lets me do is use a few of these tools in order to find items in this list that I might want to highlight. Now, this one doesn't have a lot. This is only I believe it was my utilities line. So I'm going to drill down on one with a little bit more detail. How about salaries? I'm going to drill down on salaries. And you can see here down at the bottom, we've got 228 detail line items that make up my salary activity for April 2017. So let's say that as a department head, I need to make sure that I have manual eyes on all of my commissions that are over or under a certain range of amounts. So what I'm able to do here is I can use my lookup, filter to just my, thought it was trying. Oh, there it is, commissions. Okay. I can filter just to my commissions accounts, and then I can apply a filter on top of that to say that I'd like to look at all my commissions that are between $2,000 and $10,000. And there we go. Now I can see these relevant items that I know I need to look at every month. As a department head, maybe I see something that's interesting and I need to get some more detail about it. I can double click to get more detail about that specific line item, as well as use this journal entry button to see the line item in context. So this is the entire journal entry, and you can get all of this detail available without having a GP user license, just an ActivReporter user. So if you are a GP user, which most of your department heads wouldn't be, but let's pretend that I'm a department head that does have a GP user license. What that allows me to do is I have a keyboard shortcut that I can use to pull up the journal entry inquiry screen for that detailed line item. You can see I drilled down here on that 2100, and there's that 2100 there that I've drilled back into GP. From there, I can get a look at any attachments or the source document or whatever research I need to look at on the GP side. So whether you're a GP user or not, you've got a lot of access here just within the report. One thing I do want to note as a difference from Management Reporter to ActivReporter is my balance sheet account. When I drill down on my balance sheet accounts, I'm actually able to see, let's clear the filter, I'm actually able to see all the way back to the beginning of time what establishes the entire balance for that balance sheet account. Management Reporter will only allow you to see the current period's activity, but we can actually drill down and see the entire balance. So from this perspective, in my world of Let's Pretend, where I am a department manager, this report is a fixed point in time that has been generated out of ActivReporter. I'm not able to see the formulas that create these values, and I'm not able to make any inadvertent changes. This is a protected sheet. What I am able to do, of course, is do the drill down and research, but I can't make any inadvertent changes. And again, this is a fixed point in time that has been distributed by my accounting department. So what about the accounting department? Let's open this same financial, but from the accounting department side or from the report builder side. So you can see in the background that it looks very similar, but I've gotten this window, the workbook options that comes up first. This is going to allow me to set what period I would like to see, as well as some other options. I'll just take the April period, of course, so we can match. And let's put these side by side. So on the left, we can see here that our cash number is a hard-coded value. On the building side, the financial design, which is saved within the ActivReporter database, this value has a function attached to it, which is actually going out and pulling that data from the databases. So drill down functions similarly, just the same way. Drill back as well. But what I'm able to do here in the accounting perspective side is I'm always going to have live data. So this here on the right will update anytime my numbers in GP change, which it would allow me to generate a new fixed point in time for my managers if I so chose. But you can also use this to do review of prior periods and such as well. So if I change this period, you can see that everything changes for the new period. Everything says February now. And when I drill down, I'm getting February's, meaning February is the latest activity for my balance sheet accounts. So there is a distinct difference between the financial design, which is this template version, and the generated financial statements for distribution. So I just wanted to go through and show a few options that ActivReporter provides as far as what we can generate as a financial statement. ActivReporter is very, very flexible. So we can do pretty much anything. It's just your imagination that's going to limit you. So for example, here's just a 2-year comparative for a balance sheet. Here is a income versus budget. An actual versus budget. And what I want to highlight here is this variance column. Oh, I can't, it's protected, sorry. But you can see that this variance, this is actually just a calculation, a normal Excel syntax calculation. Nothing too fancy there. And of course, I've got my charts and graphs that refer to my data in my statement so that when my statement numbers change, my graphs will change. Here's just a simple cash flow. Here's an income statement I have broken out by years. You could break this out by periods if you'd like, or quarters. Here's a fun income statement. So, well, it's not really an income statement. What this is just a listing of expenses broken out by different departments for different months. So this is just an example of the type of reporting we can do. And of course, we also offer MultiCompany, which I mentioned earlier. So this is pulling from 3 different GP company databases. So I did have a question that came through saying, does this include multiple companies with different GL structures? And I'm going to answer that question right here. Yes. So these are 2 companies that have the same structure. Of course, Fabricam, when we drill down, we get Fabricam data. And Gabricam is just a Fabricam clone. So if I drill down on that, you'll see it has the same structure, but it's coming from a different company. And then here's my university company, which is pretty interesting because it actually has a completely different structure and fiscal year from the Fabricams. So yes, I'm able to pull consolidations across company databases regardless of structure or fiscal year end. And of course, the consolidated, which is just using an Excel sum. So what I'd like to do now is just do a really quick demonstration of how building these reports works. So before I start building a report, I want to talk about what I mentioned earlier, importing the row definitions. So there's ActivReporter. Oh, there's Management Reporter, and here is ActivReporter. Okay, so Management Reporter over here, you can see a row definition. This was created by a university in order to meet some pretty specific guidelines. So it's got a pretty complicated definition going on. So right in here, I've just pulled up the dimensions for gifts, and I've already imported this row definition into ActivReporter. And I just want to show you this to highlight how our Rollups can capture the same information as the row definition. So here's gifts. So this is the same line item in the ActivReporter Rollup as in the Management Reporter row definition. So you can see that we're capturing effectively the same information. For the first line, it's Fund 01, College 00, Department 286. And we look down here, and again, it's line 1, College 00, Department 286. Now, I'm not going to go through each one of these, but you can see that it matches, and we're capturing the same accounts with this roll-up structure as we are with the row definition. So if you have Management Reporter row definitions, like I said, that's going to get you a great start on creating your reports in ActivReporter. If you do not have Management Reporter, you will have to create your roll-ups in ActivReporter from scratch, but that is not too tasking a process. And of course, we can cover that during training and implementation working together. So once you have your roll-up, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back up here to Financial Designs in my Fabricam company. And I have a new blank workbook to create a new design in. Oh, I say blank, yep, there it is. I ran through this already today. Let me clear that. Okay, so new financial design. I've created my roll-ups already, so I'm ready to go in creating a new financial. We have a layout tool to make this simple. And what I can do is pick from these layouts which one seems most appropriate to the statement that I'd like to create. In this case, I'm going to do an income statement actual versus budget. And here is where I can pick my roll-ups that I have defined. That's this group here. You can also use these layouts to generate statements by segment. So if you wanted to have each one of your account segments on a different line or each one of your department segments on a different line, you could do that as well. In this case, I'm just going to use my GP income statement roll-up. And I have generated for me a very basic template to get started with. So I've used my roll-ups And what that has done is created these rows for me with all of these functions referring to the data out here. So the way that these reports generally work, you've got the first 3 columns and first 3 rows that capture your the specifics of the data you would like to report. And then here in the report area is where we create the functions using your specified data up here to display the data. So let me just show you that. It makes more sense when I show it rather than say it. So for example, right now I have actual versus budget. Well, what if I wanted to do actual versus actual last year? That's pretty simple, and I don't even have to touch the report. I can just come up here, switch from the budget ledger to the actual ledger. Now you can see that that column changes and it looks exactly the same. And if I want to do last year, I can do current minus 1 year up here, and now my values change below. So this is what I meant when I said it's what you see is what you get. As I make these changes here, I'm able to see the changes already reflected in my report in real time. And it just takes a lot of the guesswork out of your design process. My variance column, again, is just a very simple Excel function, nothing fancy there. And if I wanted to, say that I wanted to do maybe 3 months prior as well, I can copy and paste columns to very easily do that. So if I wanted to do, let's see, if I wanted to add 3 months prior, and then I can do current minus 1, current minus 2, current minus 3. And now you can see that this, when I drill down on it, is going to come up with my January, February, March numbers. I go 1 column over, and that's going to pull my February numbers because that's 2 periods back. And then 3 periods back is going to pull my January numbers. So you can see how simple it is to go through and start building these reports with these columns of the data that you want to see. So once you've built out the columns, you've got your rows already, you've built your columns that you want, then all that's left is just the Excel fluff, right? It's going to be your formatting, making your colors look right, getting your totals in place. Nothing that was done in that macro that I just ran to format this, nothing was done that was not already an Excel process, already available in native Excel. So once I have done all that formatting, then I've got a report that's ready to generate and send out. And it is not a super complex process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and save this. I save this here in Excel. Then I'll save it here in ActivReporter. Then when it's time to, it's the end of the month and everything's closed and it's time to go ahead and distribute out my financial statements. So I've got a print button here, which brings me to the print and generate process. And this allows me to set what period I'd like to report on, whether I'd like to include unposted entries or not, and where I'd like to send the output, whether to an actual printer or a file location. So in my case, what I'd like to do is send it to my published financials folder. And I'd like to keep my Excel format to retain my drill down. And I've already got set up because this is a saved answer, meaning that I've predefined my settings beforehand. I've already got set up that I would like to iterate over my company segment. So this is iteration is our answer to reporting trees. A reporting tree allows you to generate reports for multiple units, right? Across companies or departments, however you have your structure set up. In this case, what I have is multiple company units. My iteration process here is going to allow me to generate 1 copy of this report per company segment, limited to just that segment. So these are generating, and here they are. So it's going to be an Excel file, And here is just one of my companies that I've generated. You can see that this one is for A company. This one is for B company, and so on. So this is how we are able to generate these multiple reports with just the one single report, like reporting trees allows you to do. So that's going to be a pretty quick overview of our reporting capabilities. And I am going to put this back over. Okay, so we can start talking about live data analysis. There it is. Okay, so as before, just a few quick features about our data analysis capability. The data presentations in ActivReporter could be and have been called smart lists on steroids. So we've got 3 of these data presentations available: the chart of accounts, journal entries, and journal entry detail. This data and all the data that you see in ActivReporter is always live and matches what's in Dynamics GP. Drilldown is, of course, available in all of these data presentations, and there are drillbacks. So not only can we drill back to the journal entry, we can, from the chart of accounts listing, drill back to the account card and account detail. So there's also some additional reporting available within the ActivReporter software, such as journal detail listings. So those are useful for users that you have that are not connected to your system or potentially any system and might need a printed out hard copy of their details or something that's available to them without having access to Excel. And we also have something called the active trial balance. You may not have seen anything like this before. It is a real-time trial balance by account. And let's jump back into the software, and I'm going to look at that first, since that is something that I don't believe you may have seen before, unless you've seen one of my demos before. Let's come to this monitor. Okay. So this is my active trial balance. This is a trial balance listing by account. You can see each one of my chart of accounts here, which I can sort by if I like. And I've got my beginning, activity, and ending balance for the period that's set up here in the calendar area. I can include my unposted accounts if I would like to, or sorry, not unposted accounts, unposted entries if I would like to, or not. You can see that flip on and off. And like I said, this trial balance is always live and always matches what's in GP. And I'd like to back that up. So I'm going to demonstrate this for you real quickly by putting an entry into GP. So let me just get everything set there. And I have a journal entry that I've created in Excel, so I can just paste it into GP, making things easier. So I'm going to make a real quick demo batch here. And I'll paste my Excel entry in. So what you're going to see here in the active trial balance, let me just highlight 2 accounts that we'll see the activity change for when I save this. But there'll be a few down the way, but these 2, you'll see a debit and a credit entered there. So don't watch me over here on the save button, watch over here on the trial balance. So I'm going to hit the save button. Oops, maybe I'll hit the save button. There it goes. And there's my entry. So it's already there in ActivReporter. So if I go back and I'd like to delete this entry, I'll delete it. And we can see that be removed from ActivReporter as well. So like I said, this is a fantastic tool for your sort of managers, maybe CFO or accounting managers, to keep sort of a bird's eye live view of exactly what's in GP at any given time. So let me maximize this back. Okay, so Each one of these line items in this trial balance can be double-clicked on to drill down. And from there, you can pick which column of data you'd like to see. So if I want to look at the net activity, then I get this, what should be becoming familiar, journal detail view, where I can see all of the transaction detail line items that make up that net activity number. So for each one of these, without a GP license, I'm able to double click to see more detail, hit journal entry to see the journal entry here in context. If I am a GP user, I can, from this point of view, I've got, again, my keyboard shortcut that'll pull up that journal entry. Oops. Sorry, things are getting a little flickery over here. Okay, so that'll bring up my journal entry inquiry screen if I do have that GP license. All right, so let me close that. So this active trial balance that I'm showing you is actually part of something we call financial views. Financial views are very customizable presentations of data that are always live, just like that trial balance that I showed you. So a couple of examples of these that I've created to look at, we have, for example, let's see, we've got a P&L by category. So what this allows me to do is get a look at my P&L accounts as well as sort of a trial balance presentation here. Of course, again, these all offer the drill down and drill back. Here's a balance sheet. If I want to get a look at my balance for any particular period, I'm able to do that here. Or this is a kind of fun one that I like that I put together. This allows me to look at each of the pieces of the sales process here for each of the certain areas that Fabricam has defined in its chart. So that allows me to get a good overview of my sales broken down by location. So financial views allow you to be a little creative and really sit back and think, what numbers are important for me as a manager to keep an eye on? Or what numbers am I being asked about all the time? You could build a view, and then once you have the view, you can just keep that eye on it all the time. Or if you maybe need to send it out as a report, you can copy it to Excel, save the Excel, and then just email that out. So it does become it does make things a little bit easier having those financial views match what you need in your data. So that's good for views. I did mention my notorious smart list on steroids. So let's look at that, starting with the chart of accounts view. So this is, of course, just a listing of all of the accounts within my chart. You can see the total down here at the bottom of 501. And for each one of these listings, of course, you can double click on the item to get more detail, just like you can do anywhere else in the software. So double clicking on that account allows me to get a little bit of information out of GP. If you use multi-currency, here is where you can see the translation method or the translation type that is set on the account within GP. And you can also see what rollups and rollup items this account is assigned to. So I can review, maybe I've just added a new account, and I'd like to see what rollups it automatically was assigned to and make sure it was correct. Well, it's in cash, balance sheet. Yeah, that sounds appropriate for my cash account. So that looks good. These account views also offer a journal detail tab, showing, again, all of the journal detail that has occurred within this account in the history of my GP database. So here you can see I'm going all the way back to the beginning of Fabricam's existence and all the way to the end. On my accounts here, I did mention we've got 2 drillbacks that are available here. And what that lets me do is kind of do this review process. So one of the columns that I have available is posting type. One of the things that I remember doing every time that I closed a fiscal year in GP was I had to make sure that I had the posting type set correctly in all my accounts. Otherwise, my close would just be a mess. And depending on how many accounts I'd added during the year, this could be a difficult process. So what I like about this is I'm able to display what posting type is set in GP right here in ActivReporter. So I can sort by it. So balance sheet on top, P&L on top, and then I can use maybe a lookup to filter to just all my sales accounts and make sure, are they all set to P&L? Oh, some of these are set to balance sheet. Are those appropriate? Yeah, they look appropriate. So depending on your chart structure and your setup, you can use this to help you in different ways. Let's say that maybe this account, let's pretend that this account needed to be on the balance sheet, not profit and loss. So I use my drill down here to pull up the account maintenance card in GP, and I'll just toggle that, right? I'll just make this a balance sheet instead of P&L. Let me save it here in GP, and you see it automatically reflected here in ActivReporter. But let's say, oh, that was a mistake. No, I don't want that on the balance sheet. I need that to be a P&L posting type. So I'll use my keyboard shortcut to pull it up again, change it back to P&L, and again, good as new. We're right back where we started. So this is a great tool to use alongside GP with your GP posting type review at the end of the year. We also have the ability to do a drill back for account detail. So I'll run that one here on this sales account. That allows me to pull up my detail inquiry screen for that account for the current system year. Of course, Fabricam is back in 2017, so we'll pretend it pulled up 2017, but this is one of the other drill backs available from the chart of accounts if you have a GP license. Close that. Okay. So alongside the chart of accounts listing, we also have the same ability to do listing with journal entries. So each one of these lines represents a different entire journal entry. I've got some different columns of data available here, as well as many more columns available that you might want to add, just like a smart list. So drilling down, double-clicking on any one of these items is going to allow me to see each of the detail line items involved in that journal entry, as well as get a little bit more information on that entry from GP. So like I mentioned earlier, ActivReporter is going to report only on GL detail, general ledger detail, but some of the subsidiary packages do push some information through to GL, and we're going to have that available. Mostly the originating master ID, document number, transaction source, all that good stuff is going to come through from your subsidiary, and we can show it here in the view if necessary. So you can see for this one, I'm displaying in this case, it's payroll computer checks. So what this is going to be my payee as well as the direct deposit number here. So you can customize this view to meet your needs for what you look at as far as journal entries go. So one step further, this is the journal detail folder. So every time that we have drilled down from a financial or we drill down to the journal detail in the chart of accounts, this is where it's pulling from, this journal detail folder. So by default, this folder is going to list every single journal entry available in GP, including budget entries and closings and BBFs, all that. So in this case, I've got almost 48,000 line items of detail available. And I just want to show you, how many of you have used a smart list and you add a column and it takes forever to refresh, and then that wasn't the column you were looking for, so now you need to add another one, and it just takes so long to refresh. So I've got almost 47,000 line items of detail, and I'm going to add 60-something columns to it here. And let's just see, how long does that take to render? It's already done. I've got 48,000 lines of detail that I can scroll all the way through, and 60-something columns columns of information here, and it's lightning fast. Let me clear out all those extra columns that I didn't need. So as you can see, it's a very swift product and allows you to do a lot of research here. So this journal detail folder is, like I said, it's just a listing of each of the transaction line items that make up each of your journal entries. You can double click on any one of them, click the journal entry button, and see it in context. But the power of this journal detail folder is going to be in the filters. So for example, a couple that I've created here, let's see, I have what's called relative dates, meaning that I can say I'd like to see this period last year. So this one says IRL because it's actually a relative date. I'm pulling this period last year. And when I pull that, you can look at my post date. My post date is showing me only items that occurred in December of 2018 because that is this period last year. And that the definition for this filter is always looking for this period last year. So when the clock runs over and it's January and I ran this filter, it would show January of 2019. So it's a great filter, or it's a great ability because it means that you don't have to update your filters every single month. You don't have to update anything. You just run the same filter and it'll bring you up last month or 2 months ago or whatever you're looking for. Something else that you could use this for, sometimes there are items that you absolutely need to have eyes on. For example, maybe you've got employee expenses or something like that that you need to manually review every month. You can build a filter that build a filter that is going to find those items for you based on the account structure, maybe the amount of the debit or credit, whatever it is that your company uses to determine that, you build into the filter, then you can get manual eyes on it. If you would like, you can also copy these into Excel and then email them out for others to use or to look at and review. If you don't like this automatic table formatting that we're doing here, you are able to just do a simple Control-C to copy, and then I can do a Control-V here to paste, and that just gets a really good text paste of the detail. So if you don't like the formatted table, you can get the text. Okay, so journal detail. That is going to be it for my brief rundown of ActivReporter. So what I would like to do now is transition into questions. So now is the time while I'm switching my screen to put in some questions, and we will go over those. Let's see what we have here. So can the reports be exported to Excel as they are in Management Reporter for those who do not have Great Plains set up user access but need our financial reports? Yes, absolutely. So that is where I started. Let me pull up my desktop here. So this is a report that was exported to Excel. This report does not need any access to your GP database or any other database to simply present these numbers that were generated out of the database. This spreadsheet does not have any link back to any server by itself. If they are not a GP user and not connected to your server in any way, they will not have drill down. But in order to get drill down, all they need is a connection to your server, not to GP. So if you have a connection to your server, you can get drill down without GP. So hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if it does not answer your question. To have the drill down capability, what type of license access does the user require? We don't distinguish between users and license types with ActivReporter. It's all pretty much the same by default. Everybody has access to everything. We do have very specific security available if necessary. I just realized I was showing you I was talking about this report, but I had it on the wrong monitor. Sorry about that. But yes, our user licenses are all the same. ActivReporter does not actually have a charge per user. Our licensing is based off of GP company database number, and any license includes unlimited users. So what our intention is for you to roll out everyone who has access, has some way to connect back to the GP server. We want to have everyone set up as an ActivReporter user so that they can then connect to their database here in order to get this drill down capability here. Again, they don't need a GP license to drill down. They just need an ActivReporter license, which is no additional cost. It's just going to be the install and training time and things like that. Importing row definitions from MR. No, you didn't miss it. I did not demonstrate how we do it, but it's just a very simple process. If you'd like to see, what we have is down here in our setup is where we keep our roll-ups. And from here, I just have a little bot that I run. It's just a little process to import my management reporter rows. You're able, as long as you have a appropriate rights within the server, you're able to connect and see all your management reporter definitions available here. You would pick the one that you wanted to import. So in this case, I'll pick that P&L detail here. And then this is going to run through the process of, I already have that one. This is going to run through the process of creating a roll-up from the rows. So that is just a very simple process. It can be a little time consuming depending on how many rows that you have. So if you've got 15 rows for a company, you do have to import each 15 one at a time. But once it's done, you'll never have to do it again. So here's the roll-up that I just imported from rows in ActivReporter, or in Management Reporter. Sorry about that. I have another question. Can we link into multiple software, GP and another SQL-based software? It's depending on what it is. I'd tentatively say yes. So as I mentioned earlier, ActivReporter is simply the, let's get one open here. It is simply Excel with an add-in that allows it to interface with our database. So depending on what program you're using, other SQL-based software, we would not be able to use, the ActivReporter functions to pull data out of that other SQL-based software database. But if you have another way to pull data from that database into Excel, that method would still work to pull into Excel. So if you can pull it into Excel without ActivReporter, you can probably pull it in with ActivReporter, depending on what it is. We'd have to talk specifics, but likely so. All right, do I have any other questions? This is last call for questions. If I did not answer your question, please feel free to ask it again or clarify, or of course you can send me an email if you'd like to. Let me put that up on the screen. Oop. Hold on, we're trying. There we go. Okay, so you should see on your screen now our contact information. If you have any detailed questions, or if you're curious, if you'd like to set up a demo and see ActivReporter work in a situation similar to yours, you can give us a call, shoot us an email, or check out our website at ActivReporter. Well, it says .com, but .com works. You can do ActivReporter.com or ActivReporter.gp, whichever you'd like, and you can get a lot more information there. We've also got some resources available on YouTube if you'd like to check out our channel there. All right, I don't have any more questions, so I guess you guys know everything you need to know about ActivReporter. Thank you all for coming, and I hope you have a great remainder of your day.